Welcome to the Pepe show. I mean, the Rebel Ants radio show, where Miguel and I join you each week live, except when I'm on vacation, each week live to share our progress of launching an NFT. And we are going through that process right now with the Rebel Ants NFT project. And when we get a chance, we love to bring on other artists and creators and Web3 personalities. And that's exactly what we're doing tonight. We've got Crespo joining us in just a little bit, but just want to take care of some housekeeping items first. Just a reminder that you can head over to rebelants.io/store, pick up some gear if you're into that sort of thing, and support, /shop, and support the Rebel Ants. You get a cool shirt like this, or maybe a cool shirt like the one Miguel's got going on. And while you're over there, you can mint your own Rebel Ant for 0.01 ETH. We would appreciate that as well. Support the show. And at some point today during the show, we're going to stop the conversation, drop a proof of attendance secret code for you to head over to rebelants.io/proof. Drop that code. The first 3 people to do that will win a free Rebel Ant airdrop to them, courtesy of Miguel's ETH stash. Miguel, how are you?
I'm good, man. Stop going on vacation. You're ruining the show on Sundays.
I know. You know, today is a special show, episode number 26, not only because we have Crespo, but because 26 is like half a year. So this would be 6 months of doing a show every week, even though we took a break for 2 weeks because I'm the worst. So we're still at that point, though, of like, we'll call it half a year.
I'm glad you say we. As in, like, I had something to do with your vacations.
It's all your fault. You're the reason I need vacation. Too much pressure.
What's going on? How you been?
I am good. I have 2 screens finally. I've upgraded in life. I've decided to get a second monitor. So when I'm not looking at the camera, I'll be looking over here at this screen or this screen. I don't know how people do it. I watch videos all the time of people with multiple screens. It doesn't look as awkward as I feel when I'm doing it. So we'll figure this out together. But hopefully it's all for the better. How's your Pepe journey going?
Let's not talk about it.
Yeah.
Well, it's still worth $1.2, $1.3 billion right now, but that's okay. Yeah. We'll figure it out. I'm kind of even right now, so.
Good. It's fun to follow along and for you to make me feel bad that I haven't invested enough. So thank you for that financial advice.
I keep telling you when to invest. You just don't do it when I tell you.
I know. I'm more of the, I don't want to think about it. I'm just going to blow all my money on something and then regret it later, like the Outlaws.
Yeah, but you're always texting me like after the price goes up. Like, hey, I'm going to get into this. Like once it's at the top.
Yeah, I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what to tell you. Well, we have 3 people following us, 4 people joining us live tonight. And so we thank you for joining us and invite you to be part of the conversation. Drop some comments. Let us know where you're joining from. And I think we're ready for Crespo. Miguel, anything else?
No, I did. I do have. I did work on some V2 backgrounds today, actually, yes. Which I'm not revealing yet because I know you're dying to see the backgrounds, but I'm not doing it.
Yeah, you won't even show it to me. I'm like, can I see this? I'm trying to design a website around this art and this concept. You won't even show it to me. It's top secret.
Top secret backgrounds.
Yeah, and you've also been doing some work on a coin or a token for Rebel Ants, so that'll be interesting to share more as we learn more and develop more. So more.
Yeah, I worked a lot on the coin today. Did some research, got some stuff done. So I'm just trying to work on the logo for the coin, so it looks something cool. I want to have like an A in one of the side of the coin, maybe the ant on the other side. A couple of words. We'll see how it looks.
Yeah, I love it. A couple of words like Rebel Ants.
Yeah,
those are good words. Good words. All right, let's bring in our friend Crespo. Crespo, welcome to Rebel Ants Radio. How are you tonight?
Welcome.
Thank you. I think I would have been fine just listening to you two go back and forth. And I have not gotten any advice from Miguel, and I have not gone on any vacation. So I guess I'm mad at both of you as well. So what's up, guys? Thank you for having me.
You know, you're the most physically fit, though, of the 3 of us because you really have more focus and a way to prioritize that. So I think I'm a little jealous of you on that end.
All right. We all got our thing, right?
All right. So Crespo, we're going to start a little icebreaker here, okay?
Yeah, let's do it.
Now, you have not been warned of what this question is, so you're going to be put on the spot. I will go first, just so you don't feel pressured.
Okay.
But tonight's question, what is your favorite candy? All right. Now, the follow-up question to that is like, also, what's your emotional attachment to it that just really makes it your favorite candy, right? So I'm going to go with Reese's Pieces. And if you don't pronounce it as Reese's Pieces, you're wrong. and I'm sorry to tell you that. But yeah, Reese's Pieces is definitely my favorite candy. It's a little heavier than like an M&M, so I can't have as many Reese's as I would of an M&M. But I'm just a sucker for peanut butter, and something about the colors too really resonate with me. My favorite coffee mug is my Reese's coffee mug that I got from Hershey Park in Pennsylvania. So yeah, if anyone wants to send me any gifts, Reese's is the way to go. And again, we invite our live viewers to drop your answer in the comments as well. So Miguel, what's your favorite candy?
Classic Nestle Crunch.
Ooh, interesting. And where does the Crunch a Bunch, is that what they're called, the Crunch a Bunch, like the smaller versions?
The ones from the movie theaters?
Yeah. Where does that fall on your scale?
When I go to the movie theaters.
You'll get it there?
It gets mixed up with the popcorn.
It gets mixed up.
Nice.
Salt and sweet stuff. That's actually pretty good.
All right, Crespo, you're up. What is your favorite candy and why do you have an emotional attachment to it?
Yeah, it's Butterfinger. And I think it's because I'm really selfish when it comes to candy. So like that whole promotional like Bart Simpson thing that they had where nobody lays a finger on my Butterfinger.
Yeah, solid.
It just resonates with me, man. Nobody touches my stuff.
That's solid. That's a really good answer. That's up there for me too, because you know, the peanut butter thing. Yeah. And you know, if you go to like Sonic ice cream drive-through place, whatever that is, I usually go for the Butterfingers there. We've got Lindsay joining us saying Reese's Fast Break.
Another peanut butter.
There we go. All within the right family. That's
a lot of peanut butter. You know what's funny? I don't like peanuts and chocolate mixed together. No. I know people are gonna say I'm weird, whatever. I just don't like it. It's not my thing.
You know, little fun fact: it took M&M's 13 years to come out with the peanut M&M. You know, we think of it as such a staple, but think about going 13 years with just this one product as the M&M, and then thinking maybe we should put something in it. 13 years later.
Wow.
And now, you know, they have 100 variations of their M&Ms. And we've got Always Blessing. Anything Reese's is the best. Wow, Miguel, you're really the odd man out here. You need more peanut butter and Reese's in your life. Is the story.
No peanuts. No peanuts.
No peanuts.
All right.
And not because I'm allergic. It's just I don't like the taste of it.
Understandable.
No, you should evaluate that. Reevaluate that. All right, Crespo, you've got a pretty busy life, it seems, just from following you online. So you, first and foremost, you're a dad. So congrats on that.
Yeah, thanks.
You are an educator. You are a podcaster. You're an artist in real life. You're a digital artist. How do you prioritize all that?
So family first. I want to. It's sort of been my thing, right? Where creativity has always been my, it's always been a priority for me. But as titles and obligations move on in our lives, we make adjustments. So when I became a teacher, I had to find a different time that I can be creative. When I became a husband, I had to take that into consideration. When I became a father, I had to take that in consideration. So it's more of just like time management, right? That's easier said than done. A lot of it is trial by fire. In this case, creativity at this point has now become part of my life with my son. So we incorporate it into our quality time, and it allows me to stay fresh. It allows me to, shake off any rust I might develop. And then I can conceptualize during that time with him, right? So if I'm just drawing quick sketches, put them to the side, and I can build on that later at a time where maybe I'm alone in the studio or we have more time to create together. So the only way that I can actually do the things that I'm doing is my very supportive wife, and then being able to incorporate all the things together, right? How do I make them all work as one, as opposed to individualizing each aspect of my life?
Yeah, I like that. It's like this beautiful Venn diagram.
Yeah,
Has a little bit of overlap in it.
That's it.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Where did you grow up?
Yeah, I grew up in Long Island, New York. I've been here all my life. Always been a burbs boy.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Did you always want to do art? Did you know that was your thing?
Yeah, so I always wanted to be a teacher. I didn't always want to be an artist. I had been doing art. Maybe I started, I guess, like around 9 years old, drawing from observation off of comic books. I was really intrigued by comic book illustration. But it was like an interest, a passion, a hobby. It wasn't something that I thought to myself like, oh, I can do this thing going into the future, nor did I want to do that. It's not something that I said like, oh, I want to be a professional artist. I knew I wanted to be a teacher or a veterinarian. It's actually the other thing I wanted to be. But I stood on a path of becoming an educator, and then I chose to teach art because it was the thing that I love. And then once I got into the position, it sort of opened my eyes to saying like, oh, you are teaching this thing. Why don't you practice this thing that you're teaching? Yeah.
Did you have a teacher growing up that you were like, I want to help people the way that person did, or the other end of it, like that was the worst teacher ever? I need to be a better person in the world than that person was.
So I have both.
Yeah.
I try not to spend too much time on the one that made me feel terrible as a child. I actually like to spend more time with the person who showed me how to not only teach your content, but also prioritize a student and make them feel seen in a classroom. That guy is now, he went from, that was one of my 11th grade social studies teachers. He moved on to becoming an administrator. He's a principal of a school, and he's also my fraternity brother. So the
Nice.
relationship
That's
built,
cool.
and it was pretty dope the way it went. And yeah, so he was the kind of champion I would want for my son. So I hope that I'm that kind of person for the kids that I'm teaching.
That's awesome.
That's awesome. So we actually met at the Bueno art show. Pablo Stanley was there. Huge fan. Me and Kevin are huge fans of Pablo. And we met during NFT NYC. Were you there at the NFT NYC or no?
Nope. I only went in for the one Bueno workshop. I had other things going on at the time, and it's sort of like take things for granted. Like, right, it's happening right the half-hour train ride away. But instead, I only went in for that one workshop. So I was disconnected from the rest of the event.
Gotcha. So what is your elevator pitch? What does Crespo do? Tell us what it is that you do.
So I think where I'm leaning to right now is my Creatividad project. So I'm big into and using creativity as a parenting tool. So when I'm speaking to people about my kind of work, I'm really starting there. I'm telling them like, hey, perhaps I'm a parent like you, and creativity is a priority for me. And I've managed to find time to do both things. And I feel like I do both well. Like I do feel like I'm a great artist. I do feel like I'm a great father, and I'm able to combine the two things. And so not only am I doing artwork for myself, I'm doing community work. You know, I'm reaching out to people, I'm teaching people things. And also at the same time, I'm building a really strong relationship with my child. The funds that I raise, fortunately, can go towards passion projects, not necessarily my pocket, because I'm also very privileged in that I have a full-time career that I feel very comfortable with.
Nice.
And so when I'm telling people like, hey, I would like for you to buy into my project, I want you to buy into the work that I'm doing, not necessarily the person that I am, not necessarily just because you like the subject matter or the artwork itself, but know that when we're thinking in terms of utility, know that I'm really in the streets doing work, like with community. I'm actually doing that thing on boots on the ground, doing workshops in public libraries. And I got a few awesome projects coming up, in the same vein as well.
That's pretty cool. I mean, I remember you when we were introducing ourselves that you mentioned something about it, and it kind of got stuck in my head. And as soon as I got back home, I remember telling Kevin like, hey, we got to reach out to this guy. Like, he seems like to be pretty cool. And then I researched you a little bit. And I was very interested. I mean, you seem to be all over the place and doing a lot of different artwork, a lot of different work, period, and a lot of good things for the community. You know, I'm curious to know, how did you venture into NFTs?
Yeah.
And how it has impacted your work as an art teacher.
Okay. So friend of mine told me about NFTs maybe fall of 2020. I was super skeptical. He's a good friend, but I still was like, nah. I mean, traditional art market has been a dog for me in general. I never give up. I still haven't given up on it. But the idea of venturing into another marketplace when I haven't really locked down my place in the traditional one was scary to me. I'm not gonna lie about that. So eventually, I think it just happened where I was doing my own research, of course, like we should, right? And I was seeing that that artists of different styles, it's been it really runs a gamut. When you say like somebody says that they're an NFT artist, you're like, that can be anything. You know, that like that doesn't mean that's not even a content. It's not a subject matter. Like we have no idea what you mean when you say you're an NFT artist. And then that intrigued me. Like I was like, oh shit, like I wonder should I explore? So that same friend, we decided to drop a couple of collaborations. So we were working together so that, you know, that same fear that I had of losing my USD to crypto wasn't too scary. So that was during high gas prices too. So I can't even imagine like if I would have jumped in or not. I think though, I mentioned to Kevin that one of the underlying reasons that I actually even decided to explore the digital art marketplace is as a teacher. I wanted to know like what am I preparing my students for? You know, am I only preparing them for a trajectory into the traditional art market, or should I be preparing them for both? And so the only way I thought to do that was to experiment, right? Because it's not like we could read textbooks on this thing. We are not in the history phase of, of the digital art market. So I had to actually put myself in that research position where I'm putting this theory into practice. And so how has it affected me in the classroom right now? It's starting to become my go-to place for contemporary artists, right? So I can log into a marketplace. I'm pretty closely tied to Known Origin. I'm the education ambassador for Known Origin. So so I use their marketplace in particular. I'll go on there and let's say I want to teach an art lesson on illustration. You know, I punch that into the search, and the artists that come up, I can look through them. If I like their style, if maybe their subject matter is something I can bring to my students, then I'll do that. And because of the age that I'm teaching right now, I'm not doing any onboarding for them, but I'm having discussions with them, right? I'm letting them know like this is a thing that I am doing, and it's something that you could possibly do later. You know, if I were to do an event now with them, it would have to be something that's probably tied in with their parents, right? Because we would want, for security reasons, for proper permission, and also I would want all of these kids to be protected the right way.
Right.
But yeah, I think that kind of answers your question of where I'm at with it as far as education goes.
Yeah, I mean, that was going to be my next question. Like, how do your students respond to this new technology? You know what I mean? Like, how do you incorporate the NFT into your curriculum? Like, how does that even look like? Technically, you're pioneering teaching right now because you're in ground zero.
Right. So this is one of my favorite questions, because as much as I'd like to think that I'm the one who's bringing this information to the classroom, if I put up a project on the board before I even speak to, actually the first time I put up the project without even speaking about it, a third grader was like, "Is that an NFT, Mr. Crespo?" And I thought like, oh, so this isn't like I'm not ahead of this thing by any means. I'm like there with them. You know, we're learning with them. And of course, right, because if these are digitally native generation, of course they're going to be learning at the same time as us. They probably don't have the access to information the way we do, but that doesn't mean that while they're not scrolling through social media, they're coming across somebody talking about this thing. And so, how do I incorporate it? Well, I think since we were talking about the Bueno workshop, I'll tell you what I've done with their Humankind project. So I've been taking the template of some of these collectible projects and creating them create like a lighter version on a printout, and I'll have the students customize them and create their own version of these characters. I've done it with Humankind. I've done it with Deadfellas, and I did it with the other one is slipping my mind right now, but essentially I give them the template that the artist and creator would have normally, in this case, you know, like Psycho Pablo would have used to create their collection, and then just, you know, just see what the students come up with. I'll show them on OpenSea. I'll show them like the collection. I won't scroll through 8,000 or 10,000 of them, but I'll give them a good idea of just what the variety looks like. And then we just have some fun that way, you know, like this is more, like I said, I'm treating each one of these projects and this art as contemporary artists. And that's one of the things I love most as being a being a teacher now is not necessarily reflecting on the old masters, but like who's doing art right now. And in this case, these are some of the people who are so available, and then some of my hopes is the idea of like, if I'm studying a particular artist that the kids are gravitating towards, because we are also interconnected at this point, like having that artist call into the classroom would be,
Cool.
that's a gem, right?
Yeah.
And so something that I'm working towards, like building those kinds of relationships where I'm not necessarily a collector of that project, but I'm a teacher and I'm teaching your project into my classroom. And if what I would imagine is that you care about the expansion of your project well beyond, our current collector base, that it would be something that artists would be interested in.
So cool. What a great approach.
Yeah.
Do you have, is there enough leniency in your curriculum that you can say, this is how I want to do it? Or do you kind of, you have a story as to how to justify teaching dead fellas into elementary school art?
Yeah. I don't. We have a curriculum, but it's fairly loose in my district. I don't know how common that is in other districts, but for us, it's really, we lean heavy on materials, so I can teach any subject matter as long as I'm putting into practice the materials that are expected of that grade level, right? So, i.e., if we have to teach painting for 5th grade, I can do a Halloween zombie project, and it just so happens to be based on the NFT project.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me ask you a question. Do you think that NFTs are important compared to the beginning form of selling art? If that makes sense.
I think I might need that question rephrased.
So do you think that the way that art used to be sold, let's say in the 1800s, 1900s, how do you feel it compares to the NFT world now?
Yeah. So my perspective on that is artists were laborers then, they weren't, I don't think that they were selling their artwork, but they were selling their skill. And I think that was a very different time period than now. Now we're very privileged in that we don't have to labor, 72 hours on a painting. We can make something, we can reproduce it, we can make minor edits to it, we can sell it as alternate versions, prints, original copy. It's a very different time than perhaps then. But also I am a little envious of that time too, because I too would like to be considered a skilled laborer. We went to school for this thing, we put our 10,000 hours of practice into it to become, to be a pro. And but we're not always held to the same regard. It's still a struggle, even in this particular digital marketplace that's so allegedly focused on art. Your validity is based on how much you can offer utility, which is like, that's not the same thing. We're talking about two different things here. And I get the utility part, because people want to know where their money's going and just how long a project is going to be around, and believe in a project. And I understand it. I'm not that guy, but I understand it. And so, yeah, I probably wouldn't even go down a rabbit hole of trying to compare the two things. They're so significantly different to me.
Yeah, what I do like about art, and I've mentioned before in a couple of other podcasts, is that like, for example, me growing up as an artist, nobody ever looked at my art, you know what I mean? Or even my friends or whoever was in my class, or whatever the case might be. And I feel like NFTs now give us that platform where we're able to showcase the art that we do have. That, even apart from the utility side, utility is great, but for me, getting into the NFT world was more about the artistic element of it, right? Because if you look at it now, there's so many unknown artists in the world that it's just unbelievable how many people are so talented out there. And I feel like the NFT platform gives them that showcasing for their art. I think it's great.
Yeah, 100% agree with that. In that regard, 100% agree with that. And also, even if you did have some kind of reach as far as an artist goes, perhaps you were considered like a local celeb, and this changes the game for that when you put your artwork, and now it's on an international portal, so many more eyes on your work.
Yeah. How do you feel that art is important to society now?
Oh, I still think that we're like the movers and shakers of culture. I just don't think it happens without art. I think it's like the starting point of all the things, so whatever is next for us, it happens because an artist drew it, painted it, released it.
Yeah, I agree with that statement 100%. I keep telling Kevin, like, hey, when you walk outside your house and you look at the light pole, somebody had to draw that somewhere.
Sure.
Everything that you look at is art. Everything from your camera, from your computer, the mic that you're talking into, your
Yeah.
everything. Somebody had to draw it somewhere down the line or think
Yeah.
about it. So it's just amazing
Teachers
to think about it that way.
teachers that focus on design thinking, that's their pitch. That's how they enter their classroom and have their students thinking, which is pretty profound, where you start to value art immediately, and it's not just on what your personal preference is, but instead you're looking at every single thing and saying like, oh, somebody made that, somebody drew that, that it was a
Yeah.
concept before it was a thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's how I look at things every single day.
Sure.
Yeah, one of
So-
my sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead, Kevin.
No, one of my favorite podcasts is called 99% Invisible, and it's about how 99% of the world is designed, but it's almost hidden from us because we're not supposed to know that it was designed that way, right? Somebody's solving a problem before we even knew it was a problem. An example of that would be, they call them curb cuts, so somebody in a wheelchair can get onto a sidewalk, right? Like somebody had to design that.
Yeah.
Somebody had to come up with that. We might take it for granted just walking through the street or knowing that's where I enter the sidewalk.
Right.
But yeah, you're entirely right that there's thankfully people creative enough to identify those opportunities first.
For sure.
So tell us about Creatividad project.
Yeah. 2018, I'll become a dad, and I'm super concerned about like, how can I create? Like, this is nearly impossible. I want to be a quality dad. I can't, but I don't have any sleep. I'm trying to figure out all these things. I'm determined to be an art, to remain an artist. So staying up late, that's not sustainable. And then my son starts having some fine motor skills that I can work with, and I'm putting pencils, crayons, markers in his hand and using a piece of paper that's big enough for both of us to create on. And I'm realizing like, oh, like I'm doing everything with him. He's doing his tummy time while he's, scribbling, or he's crawling to different materials, and I'm there, I'm not missing anything, and we're still making. He starts getting older, and I see that he's starting to take initiative. He wants to make, and so that encourages me to make. Now he's 5, and he has 2 stations set up in the house where he can go to and create. One that has like painting and it's like his painting booth, and the other one's like a dry erase table where he's just pumping and cycling through ideas. And all the while he's showing them to me. He's asking me, what can he work on? He's asking me for advice. And I'm thinking like, oh, there's something here that maybe can be tapped into.
Yeah, for sure.
Then, the entire time leading up to becoming a father, and then, growing with my boy, being home with him during the summer, you see all the mommy and me events, and I'm hella jealous. I'm thinking like, yeah, where's the daddy in me? Like, I want to do some stuff too. And of course we're invited to those things, but unfortunately the societal narrative is that dads don't want to do those things, right? So they don't exist, because why offer somebody something that they don't want? And so I wanted to change that. I wanted to say that that's not the case. There are fathers who want to do something different, but we need to offer them that opportunity. And so in comes Creatividad project. I partner with a local arts council, received some funding through a grant, partner with the local library so that I have a space that I can work in, a place that's considered accessible. That's my thing. When I'm talking about these projects, is how am I making art accessible? This goes back to what you said, Miguel, like, NFTs provides that place for people to be seen. So that's accessibility. I want these families to know that, like, I'm not trying to make something unaffordable, and I'm not trying to make something that you have to go out of your way. I'm putting it right inside the public library of your town and saying it's free. All you have to do is register and meet me there. And we've done 8 workshops up until this point. I've made some friendships. I've had some repeat families come to different events. I've had some families follow me to different libraries. And then you said, Miguel, you said you met me at Bueno where I was talking. I was one of the winners for their recent Genesis fund opportunity. And I did a workshop last night. So I partnered with a yoga studio, had 10 families there. And we were doing artwork together that was based on a humankind art project. And during that time, I was just able to lead these families through the workshop. And so if your next question is what does a workshop look like, I don't know if I'm stepping on the toes there, but I'm just gonna go for it.
Yeah, please.
If you've ever been to a paint night, paint nights guide you step by step on how to create a painting. This is not that. I want the families to explore their experimentation, and so, for parents to surrender control and feel like in the moment is really important to me. So all I do is I show them my example. I show them an example of what my son and I create together, and then I provide the families with the material. And for that hour, they're just making, and that's the most important. That's the most important part for me. Is that they're just taking this moment to not only make art but make a memory.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Where do you find the inspiration for all this?
Well, that's a combination of me being a parent and me being a teacher, right? Taking my skill set into a place that I feel like hasn't yet been provided with that. In this particular case, is fathers and male guardians. That's my target audience, right? So I could speak to dads about sports all day. I could speak to them about music all day. I could talk to them about what it's like to coach the local little league. But can I speak to another man and tell them, hey, have you been vulnerable enough to create with your child in a way where you have to no longer be in control, but instead make it a collaborative effort? That's a different conversation. That's a brand new conversation for most of our communities. And, so for me my family background is Puerto Rican. When I'm thinking about what is a male dominant conversation, it's not, I made art with my child and we found the expressive moment to be, tremendous for our healing and for the growth of our family. That doesn't happen. Right. But that's what I want. That's what I'm working towards.
That's awesome.
Yeah. You said a couple of things that resonate with me because I am not artistic in that sense, but my kid loves to draw. My younger son loves to draw. He'll show me something that he drew, and I've said to him, "Did you trace that?" He's like, "No, I just watched the YouTube video and then I made it." I'm like, "That's impressive." So I could see myself going to a workshop like that with that caveat that you're saying, like surrender control, where it's like I don't feel that pressure that I need to be the one that has the skill to draw. He just needs to have the interest in it. I'm there to support him. Is that the mindset that I'm just there to support with him?
Yeah, but I don't want the dads to leave with their hands clean though. Like I want you to participate in the, if the child tells you like I need a yellow background, that's your role. That's what you're responsible. You're responsible for making that background yellow, and that's good.
Yeah, that's cool. The other thing you said was just about this the societal standards of these mommy and me projects. I recently enrolled that same younger son into the Cub Scouts.
Okay.
And I'm surprised to see how many kids are there with their mom. And for a while, I was just like the only dad. I'm like, how is this possible?
Right.
So it's good to have those other outlets, those other experiences for kids to be able to share with either parent. Yeah,
exactly.
I'm curious, you're saying this is free to those people because of the grants you have or the connections you've made. Is there a goal to monetize or profitize this or to scale it out?
Okay, for the workshops, the answer currently is no. It's super important for me, I think, and especially my target audience at this point. I don't want to make them pay for something that I'm trying to encourage them to do. I know there's a sense of ownership. People have that mindset, right? That if you buy something, then you'll believe in that thing more. I don't necessarily agree with that, especially not when it comes to like breaking generational cycles. Like that's just something different, right? I think you need a different level of encouragement, and that comes from just being there. So if I have 10 people register for an event and only 5 show up because those other 5 didn't feel obligated to go because they didn't pay for it, I'm okay with that, because then I can pour in that extra for the 5 families who were present. However, that is not to say that I have not received profits off of this movement. So I have done presentations now on strengthening families and strengthening and connecting families, or using art as a healing tool because of the work that I have been doing through Creatividad, right? So it's sort of like an unintentional benefit. I didn't know that was going to happen, but receiving a call to say like, hey, we would love for you to present on why you think this is important to our mental health providers who are serving dads who are just recently out of incarceration and need to reconnect with their families. I'm like, oh, okay. And then, and, you know, and that is a professional opportunity that is received, you know, that I do get paid for, because that's me providing my skill and experience with another skilled professional so that they in turn can take it to their clients. So while I want to keep the workshops free, you know, I hope, I definitely believe that there's more to this thing far beyond these workshops, you know.
Apart
Sorry.
from the workshops, like, are any of your students creating any NFTs at all? Have there been
No.
like any success stories or no?
No, my students are not. So I teach kindergarten through 7th grade. The 7th graders barely have an allowance, so they're not. And the community I teach in is low socioeconomic. So we're not even talking about an opportunity to enter buying into crypto. This is more just an art-based conversation and experience.
Got it.
Yeah,
that's pretty cool. It's a pretty cool concept. I mean, it seems like you are really into the community part, and you know, I commend you for that. That's just amazing. Amazing work.
Thank you.
Have you found like-minded people like yourself from these in-person events? Since, you know, it's easy to find the online community, right? But I find it hard to find in real life people who have a similar mindset, whether, you know, things that I'm passionate about. But in this regard, have you found commonality through these in-person events?
So the answer is yes, but probably not in the way that the three of us would connect, right? It's more like meeting these people who feel like they're so disconnected from art or from these types of experiences, and then they find their way into this place, and I'm building with them in that moment, just sitting down with them and connecting with them in a way that they haven't had a chance to just do in a while. And I think in that, you know, building the relationships there, it's so funny when you know, the way we're talking about this, I think about like the conversations that I see in Discords, and I'm thinking like, my understanding when I hear the word community, or if I hear the word you know, building, I'm thinking I understand that there's the digital component to it, but I just don't feel all the time like that community effort or the, you know, the purpose driven projects are actually touching or meeting their goal the way that it's spoken about. You know, like I always wonder that. And again, not again, but I'll say this now. I'm not like invested in a ton of projects. This is me just doing my research and just trying to see what other people are doing. If I believe in a project, I want to know about the project. But then again, at the same time, I'm thinking like, hey, if I'm a one-man show and I'm doing this thing, and I hope this doesn't sound like I'm bragging. I'm not. I'm really proud of my work though. But if I'm a one-man show compared to a project that's a, you know, a multi-million-dollar project, and I am doing these, you know, once a month art workshops that are touching families, like that are really doing, you know, they're really impactful. But I'm not backed by a multi-million-dollar project. You know, I have like a couple $1,000s through a grant that I can put into buying supplies, right?
Yeah.
That's not funding me whatsoever. I guess my, you know, my bar that I'm coming into the conversation or coming into a project is pretty high. You know, like I would expect more of this. And when I hear that word utility, I'm thinking like, I don't want gear out of my utility. I don't want a discount on merch. I want you to change something, put that money towards something. I don't need it back from me. Like, let me see what you're going to do next with this.
That makes sense.
Yeah, you have such a tangible ecosystem around you from the art that you create, right? Whether it's the students and having that actual impact, or these workshops where you're dealing with it in real life. It's a different version. It's not so surface level as joining a Discord and saying, this is the community, and, you know, there's a million messages scrolling by, and, you know, maybe you get on a conversation or not, right? You're just kind of
and there's a place for that, right? And people do feel comfortable in those settings as well. And by all means, maybe they're coming from a different, you know, totally different dynamic where they feel like this is their version of the community that they were looking for. And I don't want to downplay it. I'm just saying that that's the way I enter the conversation with that mindset. So when I hear this terminology that's used inside of inside of a Discord chat, for me it feels very different,
Yeah.
Yeah.
It makes me think of, I don't know if you've heard this expression, like if you're not part of a side chat of the main chat of your group friends, then like
Yeah.
then you're not included in those other chats, right? Like they're happening, you're just not in it. So
Yes.
that's kind of how I feel with some of these NFT communities, right? Like,
Yes.
yeah, if you're just in that general chat where there's, literally messages scrolling by too fast to read, then you're missing it. Like you're not really a part of it then.
Agree.
You're not really deep in it.
I agree.
Yeah.
What do you feel are some of the biggest challenges you face as an artist and an educator?
Yeah. Let me answer this as an artist first. So marketing in the what's up? Can I curse here? It's just in my mind.
Do it.
All right. Marketing as a traditional artist, it's really difficult, man. It's so difficult that agents are super needed for so many different types of painters, illustrators, like these careers can't take off without an agent. When I entered the NFT space, I was terrified about how much we have to market ourselves, because while yes, we could get our artwork in front of a lot of viewers, man, we could get buried just the same.
Yeah.
Like, and early on, like the need for shilling in Twitter spaces, I just couldn't bring myself to do it. I was there, I was in, I was in the spaces, and I just couldn't bring myself to like want to talk about my artwork in 30 seconds, but never get a chance to tell them about who I was and why I create. Like that, that was like so mind-boggling for me. And I think that all of these things compounded into be an ultimate challenge for me. And I was sort of like just trusting my work for a long time, just saying like, you know what? I think what I create is beautiful, and I hope that somebody will think that as well. But I couldn't bring myself to want to be constantly, hashtagging all of my tweets and being in all of the spaces, all day long, because I still have a job, and I still have a family that I want to give them quality time to, and I just couldn't bring myself to do that. So marketing, Miguel, marketing was the biggest challenge for me.
Yeah, for sure. It's funny because you touched base on a couple of things that I keep repeating in all our podcasts, and that is that the reason why Kevin and I got into the space and doing this is because we wanted to bring the credibility back to the NFT world. And if you look at the NFT space or the crypto space, the anonymity part, it's insane. Nobody wants to show who they are, where they came from, how they grew up, how they know about art, all that kind of stuff. And that's the reason why we do what we do in Rebel Ants Radio, is because we want to show who the artist is, why are they drawing what they're drawing? How did they learn to do that? How did they learn to do NFTs?
Right.
How did they learn to grab a pencil and draw? What's their back history? All that kind of stuff. And I think that's important to resonate with your community or the people that you're trying to connect with. And I think that's important in the NFT world right now.
Yeah, 100% agree with that. I was thinking of Kevin and I mentioned it. We had a conversation about being doxxed before, and I have issue with the lack of transparency. I just do. Like I'm so enthusiastic about learning about people that when you immediately cut me off from that, I almost immediately don't want to know about your project, because I think like, oh, fine, artwork is nice, but that's not the thing that's driven me to most of the art that I love. Most of the art that I love, I fell in love with the artist first, and then I fell in love with the artwork.
Correct.
And like you said, that disconnect is a real disconnect here. One that fortunately I have encountered enough artists since I've been here to know that we're out there, and that and that those people who decide to to lurk in the darkness, they're not the entire movement.
Yeah, it's important to get to know the artist. Like we've had, I don't know if you watch any of our past episodes, but we have artists that are just amazing artists. Like people need to know that, and I think it's important for people to know that history. Because you can connect more with the artwork think that's what really art is a connection, an emotional connection when you see something. But what's the emotional connection behind it? You know, what was that artist feeling when they drew that? What was the passion behind it? Right. So I think that's really important for me to showcase, and for Kevin and I to continue to do what we do. Right. So I think it's just extremely important.
Yeah,
You know,
I applaud you both for doing that. I think it's really important. You know, and I hope you're able to continue doing so. I was just thinking about, like, you know, everybody attending conferences. We mentioned NYCF NFT, but you know, thinking about all of the ones that come on, you know, throughout the year, and how people are like, they have to show their phone to show their avatar in order for you to know who they are, bruh. Like,
The wrong way to do it, huh?
wow. Like, I have gone to a ton of conferences for art education, right? And because we are face forward people, you just like pick up the conversation from where you left off, as opposed to, can you give me a minute? I can show you who I am. I am a collector of your project. This is me. I tweeted you last. Like, for me, that's a trip. I'm like, oh my God, I mean, we can equate it to dating, right? People who are solely internet dating now, as opposed to whatever it was like then. You know, that change is big, is powerful, you know, and there's a lot riding on it. I can't even imagine walking into a big conference space and telling somebody that I am this profile picture. I get it, but I can't imagine that. Like, I would want them to know, oh, like, oh shit, that's Crespo. He made this thing. You know, and I would love to refer to people that way as well. You know, like, if I saw you two, you know, I don't want to sit back and think like, man, I wonder what these guys created. I want to be able to say like, oh, those are co-founders of Rebel Ants, you know, Rebel Ants. Let me go holler at them.
Yeah, that's important. What do you hope to see in the future of NFTs and their impact on the art world?
Oh, it's so funny that I don't have an answer for this one, because everything moves at hyper speed, that I think that like tomorrow is happening right now. Right.
Yeah.
Right. We're missing right now, because the three of us are here talking. We're missing something.
Something's happening.
Yeah. So I've overheard conversations where like the collector base for NFTs are the same collector bases for NFTs, right? It's just the same people cycling money.
Yep.
I'm afraid that that's going to get tired. I'm really afraid that maybe we might be there now. So my future thinking is, and I know that a lot of curatorial platforms have taken this consideration by allowing collectors to use credit cards, and buying not just happening by you know, by having cryptocurrency. But I think a further push on that, and letting people know like, you're welcome into this space. It's not just, you know, us crypto bros, you know, like, it's, you know, you can collect artwork and be a part of this as well. And I think somehow we have to spin that in a way that people understand it, you know, that aren't just thinking like, that's just a thing that's, you know, a thing for the moment, and it too shall pass. Because we don't want that to pass, you know, like, we don't want Rebel Ants to be, you know, to only be live this month, and then that's the end of the project. We want to be able to continue these things. I want to be able to continue. I love going to art fairs and having a vending table, but I also love the idea of sitting home Sunday night, creating a piece on my iPad and saying like, hey, I'd love to get this out Monday morning.
Yeah.
You know, and I want that to be available to myself. I want that to be available to young artists. I can't wait to see, like, Miguel, you and I might have a dope skill set, but like, there's a kid somewhere in high school that's going to blow us out of the water, man. And I want that kid to know like, he or she can use the digital art marketplace to get ahead, you know, further and quicker than any of the three of us have.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
for sure. So I got to stop the show for a second. Our secret code, Kevin, drop it now.
Oh.
So our secret code right now is Crespo. So if you go into rebelants.io/proof, type in Crespo, and you will get a cool Rebel Ants NFT courtesy of my ETH wallet.
Your guess was
Kevin doesn't want to share his ETH wallet, but that's cool. That's okay.
It's empty. Cool. Crespo, you said even in the explanation, the example you just gave of a digital art market, it kind of echoes back to conversations that Miguel and I have had about this term NFT. Like, is that even a useful term? Is that even a helpful term? And when we look at websites of some of the bigger projects like Pudgy Penguins or some of the others, it doesn't say NFT anywhere on the website. Right? It says digital collectibles or something digital. So, is that, or how does that play into your approach of explaining this concept of digital art to your students?
Yeah, I almost don't touch the word NFT
Yeah.
at this point. Yeah, I'm really you've seen it in this conversation. I haven't relied on it too heavily. I say it because it's the trigger word. So like it's the thing that brings people into the conversation because they've heard it, right? They haven't heard digital art marketplace. That doesn't spark a conversation the same way that if you say NFT, somebody goes, I saw that SNL skit that time.
Yeah.
I know what you're talking about. So I think, yeah, letting people know like, yo, it's just another marketplace. That's what it is. And no, I'm not an NFT artist. I am a painter. I'm an illustrator, and I'm a digital painter and illustrator. And I sell my work not only as prints, not only as, original pieces, but I also sell, digital pieces. And if you were interested in collecting those because you would love to project them or have them on an LED inside of your gallery or in your home, this is another option. Like you could buy from this marketplace from me. So yeah, to me, it's like the term is digital art marketplace. I'm heavy on that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that makes a lot of sense. And especially as the functionality evolves to more than just the image, right? It'll just have its own terminology, right? Just like if you own this machine gun in Fortnite that you can now take with you into another game, it might not be called an NFT. It just might be this digital weapon I have or this digital toy that I can carry with me.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah. I'm curious how you approach art for, the physical art that you make versus the digital art you make. What's the difference in your approach there?
Yeah. So I guess the obvious is that it's a physical connection, right? What I'm doing on a canvas, what I'm doing when I'm printmaking, like that physical act of doing that. I am so in love with the artist process. Like I'm so in love with the artist process that the final product, it has a disconnect for me. So I never have a problem, or at least this point in my life as an artist, I don't have a problem with like letting artwork go. I know there's some artists who feel like, oh, I can't let this piece go. This one has to stay in my collection. I don't have that, because for me, whatever happened from the point that I was, building this concept to the point that I finished the project, that's the point that I can't sell. That's the point that's all mine and I get to keep forever. And so for a physical piece, that moment, that artist process is longer for me than it is for a digital piece. Because you have to actually go to the store and get the material, because you may have to mix a material, because you may have to stretch a material or, prepare and lay out your supplies, versus that instance where I'm like, I have a great idea, pull out the iPad, Apple Pencil, make sure that's charged up. If it's the Apple Pencil 2, it's already charged up, and I draw the idea. And if I like it, it's ready to go. Right. I just send, I just send that thing off and it's in the market. I think it's super important for me that artist process is somehow, something has to happen for me in the digital version of it for me to love it as much as I do the physical pieces. There has to be something around the concept or something about the project where I feel like I can connect to it to a point where I can then sell it. Because going back to our earlier conversation, if I make something digital, but I don't feel that connection to it, I don't think people are gonna dig it, because they're gonna be like, well, you don't talk about it as passionately as you do your other stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm pulling up a tweet of yours from a couple of days ago, I think.
Right.
And it looks like mixed media art. Is that what this is? This was a physical thing you made, right? Yeah,
that's a magazine collage.
Yeah, that's so interesting. And this is inspired off of Deadfellas, right? Like, so
yes.
Digital art inspired this real life art. Can you
That's pretty cool.
tell us about this process or that cycle even?
Yeah, so this is sort of like, this is more fun than anything else. I'm not a holder. I'm not a Deadfellas holder. I have a Dead Friends, but I'm not Deadfellas holder. This is me just getting a kick out of like our idolization of people in general. And I think that Psyche is cool from what I know. But everybody talks to him every day. And so I was like, going back to this PFP, like knowing people based
Yeah.
on their PFP, if I cut magazines and I glue these pieces together, isn't it ridiculous that people will go, I know who that is? Like, and so I've been working on this project, and it's not really like, it's not something it's not gonna go to sale.
Yeah.
It's not even something I plan on like delivering to somebody or shipping out. I have no intention of giving it to him. It's just like, I'm just showing people like, this is a thing that you look at every single day, and I'm gonna make it out of recycled magazines.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna have fun doing it because I don't have to do it. I don't need to do it. And I'm just having a good time.
Yeah, it definitely looks like you had a lot of fun doing that.
I did have a lot of fun doing it.
It's funny that you mentioned the connection of the artwork and letting it go. I think in my entire lifetime that I had two artworks that I've been really connected to.
Mm-hmm.
One of them was a mural I did at the high school gym on this huge wall of all the mascots and stuff. And then years later, I heard from my art teacher that they painted over, and she was distraught about it, and so was I.
Yeah,
that's number one. And then number two was a painting that I did of the Twin Towers.
Okay.
Before they collapsed, and it was showcased at NJPAC.
Yeah.
And I remember when I went to get it back after the collapse, somebody had stole it, and I was like devastated because I was really connected to that painting after obviously the towers collapsed. Right. So those have been the only two paintings that I've done that I've been like really emotionally connected to, that I really didn't want to lose, and I did, unfortunately.
Right.
But other than that, like any paintings that I do or anything that I draw or do or whatever, if someone has a connection to it, then by all means, it's all yours.
Yeah. So here's the catch with NFTs, right? You're not releasing the intellectual property. So even though somebody's collecting your artwork, you're still not letting go of it.
That's true.
So it's so weird. To me, that's a strange thing. Unlike if I create a painting, there's just one of those things. And once the collector has it, it's gone. Unless I remain in contact with the collector and the gallery says, we'd like to show that piece, then the collector can opt into saying, I'll release it to you so you can show it. Otherwise, it's gone, right?
Yeah.
It's out of your hands.
Yeah, it's it.
The technology that enables the creator to continue to make, a percentage, the commission, just that functionality alone is so exciting to me, because I've been interested in cryptocurrency since 2010, really. And, you hear about the benefits of it back then, right? Like, it does all this stuff, right? It separates it from the government, and you can avoid credit card fees, and just some of the functionality, like, yeah, that makes sense. And then when I heard about this level of it, I'm like, yeah, that makes sense too. So, to your point about what people are doing with projects, I think it's exciting that it won't be PFPs forever. And I love even the different iterations within PFP and the cycles we see. So, open editions were the hot thing for a while, and now they're not the hot thing. They're still a thing, but they're not the hot thing, right? So it keeps changing. And that's exciting to me, that there's still people out there developing new functionality for it and new purposes and looking for new ways. Maybe they're just looking for ways to make money, but I'm just happy to see that the space continues to evolve, and it's not stagnant of, hopefully it's not just the same 100 people selling each other things back and forth.
Yeah. And what you said, maybe some people, I'm not mad at anybody that's just trying to make a bag. Like, I mean, get your money, by all means. But it's just, that changes the game, though, definitely. So if there's more of those people, then let's say that, let's not say that that this space is about this thing that it isn't actually. I think sometimes we slip in, because this is a digital thing, that we could slip into this idea of like a loss of reality. Like we're not witnessing this thing happening. We can see these things happening. We saw that when people were scammering, rushing for open editions that were priced at other people's one of ones. You're like, what? Like, why would you want that thing that's about to sell 1,000 copies of, if you can get this one of one for that same price? Like this is just a popularity contest. This is not like you know, this is not because you're in it for the art, you know, as so many people love to fall on. Yeah, I'm just saying, like, speak with, you know, let's be real. It's fine, you know, and especially if you're not docs, be real. Like, why, you know, you could say whatever you want. So be honest.
Yeah, it's funny. Kevin and I, we've been doing this for almost a year now, and I think we've spent, you know, like 100 times more than what we've made back, and we do it because we enjoy it and we like the education part of it. And then to touch base on what Kevin said earlier, like the evolution of the NFT, like we just had, for example, Tony Dofat in our show a couple shows back, and he's also an educator, but he's also a producer who worked with like Bad Boy Records and a whole bunch of other credential, you know, people that he's trying to get into the music business of, you know, trying to intertwine the NFTs with the music business. And I think it's what he's doing. It's amazing. I think that it'll probably evolve into something pretty cool eventually at some point. But I also think that what he's doing is just the first step into something even greater. That's probably will be the future for music at some point or another.
Right.
Yeah, Sky City NFT is the name of that project. And, you know, in our interview with him, he highlighted just some of the benefits of being a holder. You know, he's talking about studio time with producers who are really experienced, right? So imagine having access to that, or owning parts of the rights of production companies, or, you know, the tracks that you create. So yeah, it's exciting to see it go in all these different directions, and just to know the technology exists to support that. That's the exciting thing to me, is like, okay, where's it going to go next? I am never going to be on the front line of the technology side of it, but I want to be a part of it. I want to stay up to date with it. Yeah. And that's part of the reason why I was excited to launch an NFT with Miguel, is I just want to be part of the thing that I'm excited about, right? I'm not writing code, but I want to help the ecosystem thrive and grow and learn from it as well.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, I love that. You know, just being part of this thing. But that's also a genuine approach. That's really cool. I think that's great. You know, you want to be a part of this thing. You want to see something grow. You know, yeah, I'm all for it. That's cool.
All right,
so Crespo, we're coming along the 1 hour mark. We want to respect your time, but we feel like I feel like I have like a ton of more questions that I can ask you, because the conversation is just flowing so naturally.
Yeah.
But I do have one more question for you. What do you feel would be your dream project?
My dream project. You know, honestly, I really don't have. And are we talking about specifically the NFT space?
No, it could be anything.
It would be open. All right.
Yeah, like if you didn't need money, what would you spend your time on?
Yeah. So it would really be an all-encompassing. As this conversation goes, yeah, I really pride myself in the title of father. I want a solo exhibition that has paintings specifically about the subject matter of fatherhood. You know, I want to do.
Nice.
And one of my favorite artists is Jacob Lawrence, and he has his series called the Migration series. Is split between two galleries in New York and Maryland. I would love the idea of having this particular solo exhibition split between two galleries, where it allows people and encourages people to travel with their families, and having an interactive aspect to the show where people can go and see the artwork, but also create while they're there. Yeah, I've been sitting on that one for a while.
Yeah, I just pulled it up from the seattlemuseum.org/migration. Some really interesting artwork. Just scrolling through Google, looking at this. So, yeah, beautiful.
Yeah. That's definitely one of my favorite artists, and the idea that you have to travel to see the other half of the collection. I think it's like you have to be determined to do that, right? That's not going to happen by accident. You're not going to stumble across the second part of that. You have to want to see it. You have to want to be a part of it. And I think if you can create something that makes people want to travel to see it, I think you made a great fucking project.
That's that makes me think of the music, like the bands that I follow, right?
Yes,
I'll travel to see bands because they've created something more than just the music, the culture and the vibe of a live show. So I 100% agree with that. I'm bringing up a comment here from Lindsay, who says, I admire your balance of work and fatherhood. Do you have any tips on how to manage both?
Yeah, I mentioned a little bit earlier in the conversation, and it's just, you have to incorporate them together. There has to be something where you're not stealing time from either, and you're able to give as much as possible to both. So in my particular case, it's you know, creating with my son allows me to both be creative and also spend time and quality time with my son. Yeah.
Love it. Cool. All right, Crespo, where can people find you, and what do you want them to remember as we wrap this up?
So Twitter, Instagram. I'm still big on Instagram. I love Instagram. It's still a way for me to connect with people. There it's going to just be at Crespo Arts. So one word, CRESPO Arts. And then I separate my my titles. So my professional art handle is different than my educator handle, is different than my community work, because I don't believe that everybody wants to follow me for the same thing. You know, I think there isn't, I don't think people are interested in all three at any given moment. I think they would like to see maybe something different. So I keep them separate. My educator one, if people are interested in what I'm doing in the classroom or I'm doing in the capacity of art education, that's Mr. C Crespo. That's also one word. And that's on Twitter and Instagram. And then Creatividad Project. Or for anybody who's wondering why that name. So Creatividad is just creativity in Spanish. But because the Spanish word ends with DAD, I can do it as Creatividad Project. So it's just a play on the word. So on Instagram, that's just Creatividad PROJ, because you know we can't have all the letters. But then on Instagram, it's Creatividad Project. And what do I want people to know? I want people to, if I was able to share anything, I hope that it's that people feel encouraged to explore and not feel like they have to settle on something because they're seeing somebody else's success, or they believe that there's just this one formula that works. I don't think there is one formula. And even if there is one formula, doesn't mean that it's going to work for us, you know? So feel comfortable exploring, get comfortable, getting uncomfortable. You know, that one. Learning, it's just fun. Maybe that's the teacher in me, but you know, but do it. Like, just feel comfortable learning. It's fun, you know. And if you have a chance to explore, and I know that's a privileged statement as well, right? We can't just say, you know, just go out there and experiment. That's not the way this works. That's a very privileged statement to say. But if you have the opportunity, then do it.
Yeah, well, you definitely have our support. If anything that we can do to help you, let us know, and we'll be there. Definitely, when you have one of those workshops, I'll try to make one of those for sure.
Thank you. I appreciate both of you for reaching out to me. I was honored as soon as the question came, and it was a pleasure to meet you, Miguel, in person. And Kevin, it's been really dope speaking to you as well.
Thank you. You too. Yeah, definitely appreciate your time. And yeah, we got to get you out to Jersey for another for a workshop. I'll bring my kids too.
We'll do it.
All right. Well, thank you all for joining us tonight. We got 10 people with us right now, so we appreciate you sticking with us. Crespo, Miguel, have a great night. And Crespo, hang on for just a second. All right. All right. Good night, everyone.
All right. Good night, everyone.